to Faith on Film, a program designed to keep you aware and informed on everything that's happening in the world of faith and family films. We are coming to you today from Texas. That's not right. I finally made the move. We've moved from California, and here we are in Texas with a new set, new setup, and all brand new shows. And you know what? I'm so excited about today's show, our first show from Texas, because I have a guest that I see him multiple times a day on TV. I think he's got more airtime on TV than anybody else I know, except maybe Mike Lindell. Robert Shepard is a full-time actor who grew up on a farm in the Missouri Ozarks. He graduated from Missouri State University and spent several years as an elementary school teacher. He received his commission as an officer in the U.S. Army and completed over 20 years of service. However, his primary passion was to be an actor. Early in his career, Shepard was a winning contestant as Bachelor number 2 on ABC's The Dating Game. Oh, I've got to ask him about that. That just sounds so interesting. After retirement from the Army, Shepard concentrated full-time on his acting career and has appeared in numerous TV industrial films, local ads, and national Geico and hearing assist commercials. He has principal roles in motion pictures such as Evan Almighty, Dean Teaster's Ghost Town, Book of Ruth, First Lady, and Spielberg's Lincoln. Currently, he has produced and co-produced and has the lead in Past Shadows, which we'll be talking about today, a supernatural faith-based feature film which will be streamed this spring. Robert, welcome to Faith on Film.
What?
I said welcome to Faith on Film.
I heard you the first time. I just wanted to hear it again.
Folks, I put him up to this because this is the line that I hear multiple times a day on multiple networks as he does that commercial for the hearing assist devices. Robert, now, of course, you seem to just be so well known because of that commercial, but you've done so many more things, including, of course, being a part of the Army, which, by the way, thank you for your service. My son was also in the Army for 7 years. How did you transition from the Army to acting?
Well, it was a long process. I actually had the passion for acting as long as I could remember. I never remember when I didn't want to be an actor. My problem is I didn't quite know how to get from where I was born and raised in the Missouri Ozarks to where I wanted to be as an actor. So there were lots of fits and starts, and I'd try this and try that. So it was a lifelong effort. And I do tell people, though, finally, after I retired from the Army, I found out I could afford to be a freelance actor.
So what you're saying is it doesn't pay very well?
Well, it depends, you know.
No.
It can, but there can be long gaps in between.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, were there, I mean, obviously, making that transition is never really an easy road, but did you have any real major struggles as you did that transition?
Actually, not in the transition from the Army into acting, because I actually, when I was assigned here to Fort Monroe, Virginia, and I knew that I was close to retirement. So I actually booked an agent and started auditioning and booking jobs while I was still on active duty. So as long as I was taking leave, my supervisors were very open to that. In fact, they thought it was kind of fun to have a guy they might, see on television from time to time. So they were very supportive. And so actually, my first major job while I was still on active duty was I booked Hardee's commercials, the restaurant. And they actually made, I was in front of the camera for about an hour, and they actually made 4 different commercial spots, and then they made radio out of the audio. So I actually became eligible for the Screen Actors Guild for those commercials while I was still on active duty in the Army. But there certainly was a period of struggle, but you have to go back 40 years for that. And I had actually gotten into the Army, had earned a regular Army commission, but this passion for acting was so strong that I resigned my Army commission at that point. This is back in '77, and my wife and I moved to California. We were expecting our first child. We'd saved the money for the baby. I started using the GI Bill, drawing unemployment, doing some extra work, trying to figure out how to get into this business. And our daughter was born, and 10 days later, my wife had an aneurysm. And she was, we took her to St. Joseph's Hospital out in Burbank, and they immediately knew what had happened. And for 10 days, she was semi-conscious. And finally, the day of surgery arrived. We had many people praying for her, literally all over the country. And that night of the surgery, I was by her bed in a recliner. My mother-in-law had come out and was staying with her baby girl. And all of a sudden, my wife starts getting out of bed. She had not moved for 2 weeks. She started getting out of bed, so I said, "Where are you going?" And she said, "I'm going to the bathroom." It was as if nothing had ever happened. She was miraculously, totally restored. So we were so blessed by that. However, by the time of that, we were considerably in debt with hospital bills. I didn't really have a full-time job and was kind of a bit depleted physically after we went through that. So we went back to Missouri, and I started teaching school again, joined the Guard, and then ultimately 2 years later applied to come back on active duty, and which I was able to stay for retirement. The thing, though, I think that stayed with me is before we left LA, I heard a very voice that I heard that said, "Delay is not denial."
That's right.
And I interpreted that to mean, don't worry about this acting career.
Yes, that's so fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what, on that note, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, let's find out where that opportunity then eventually took you, and we'll talk about the film that you just co-produced and starred in. All right?
Great.
Don't go away. We'll be right back after this brief break.
Ever wanted to binge watch family-friendly TV without all of the commercials? Well, as a mother of 2 young children, it's vital that I have a platform I can trust. And 24 Flicks is where I find incredible movies, shows, comedy for me and for my children as well. And for only $3.99 a month, it's a no-brainer for us. You can join other moms like me by going to 24flix.com and get your 7-day free trial.
Got a postcard from the grandkids. They went to the Ark.
Yeah. What does it say?
Well, Annie says they had a blast and that it's really, really big.
Everything looks big to a 6-year-old.
Well, Hudson says it's even bigger than the castle.
Can't be that big. Can it? Go ahead. Think bigger.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. We are here today with Robert Shepard, who has gone from the Army to acting But in between that, he had a period of time when there was a struggle because of his wife having that aneurysm. And God told him that don't worry about it, it will come to pass. Robert, so it did come to pass. You eventually did become an actor. And I did read in your intro that you actually had some pretty major movies you were a part of. Now, how did all that then eventually happen?
Well, again, when booked the agent here in Southern Virginia, and the agent just started putting me forth for different auditions that came about. And so, but I tried to take advantage of every possible opportunity. I did student films, I did industrial films, I did commercials. I saw it all as an opportunity to improve my craft and learn how to hopefully develop real characters on film. So everything I saw as an opportunity. But ultimately, within that time, opportunities such as Spielberg's Lincoln, I auditioned for it, and sure enough, one day, all my phones, house phone, cell phone, everything started ringing. My agent said, "You have been booked for Lincoln." So I actually, it's next to the last scene, and I play the attending physician of the president, and you'll see me listening. It was actually a wooden stethoscope, which I didn't know such a thing existed, but it's like a wooden cone that they use to amplify, apparently, the breath sounds. So I would hold that down to the great Daniel Day-Lewis's chest, and then finally I stand up and pull the watch out of my pocket and announce the date and time of the great man's passing.
Oh my goodness! Now I've seen that movie, but now I'm going to have to see it again just to find you there. Then, now, of course, you are now working on a movie that you co-produced, and it should be releasing again sometime between maybe end of spring, early summer, or something. You guys are still working out all the details. What is this film all about?
We bill it, or I bill it anyway, as a supernatural faith-based film. I play a college professor who, unfortunately, a tragic event happens that totally tears his family apart. He's become estranged from his wife, his son, his daughter-in-law, all because of an incident that happened with his grandson. Ultimately, he moves to a different location, moves to a different college to try to come up with some sort of reconciliation. But ultimately, the supernatural part comes in. One of the students that he's teaching collects glass. And one of the pieces of glass actually comes from Golgotha, the Holy Land. And the student incorporates these into glasses. Well, come to find out, when you put these glasses on, you can see into the past. And ultimately, these glasses help not only solve the mystery of what had happened with the grandson, but it ultimately leads to reconciliation through the Lord's grace with the rest of the family.
Oh, wow. How did you come up with this concept?
Well, I didn't.
Okay.
My production
How did you
partner,
take it?
My production partner, his name is James or Jesse Sanzo. So it was his script, his idea. And we basically then ended up co-producing the film.
How do you think the faith-based audience is going to receive it? Because I know that a lot of times the faith-based audience is very narrow in what they accept. And, possibly the idea or the concept that a piece of glass from a time of Jesus, let's say, or from Golgotha would give you that type of ability. I mean, is there a danger that maybe they'll go, oh, no, this is not something that's biblical?
That is a great question. And actually, we are getting mixed messages on that. There is one group that applauds it, and they say, great. Not that you're tired of it, because you can never get tired of basic, faith and accepting Jesus and all that. That's totally great, and you never get tired of that. But there are some people that feel like a lot of the faith-based films are sort of repetitive. They sort of tell the same story over and over. So that group of people are applauding it, and they say, great, it's so neat that you have come up with a new concept. And overall, I would say, Isaac, that it's been very well received. We did have one group that's very strong faith-based that actually felt they would probably not distribute the film because of the very reasons you're saying. They felt maybe it might be misunderstood, maybe people were thinking it's magic or whatever.
Right.
We feel like very strongly that all of this is the supernatural part comes from God. But, you know, they are sort of have their own view of how things should be, and that's their perfect right. So we've heard both sides, but it's a great question.
Well, yeah, I just, it concerns me because I've been in this so long, and I see how, first of all, you're never going to please everybody. I don't know that you'll ever create a movie that everybody will accept. There's always going to be the group that says, oh, I don't like this about it, or I don't like that about it. And so when I thought of that, I know what people are like nowadays, and I can see how some would have an issue with that, although I think it's terrific. I think it's great to, it kind of opens up the awareness that there is a supernatural power involved when it comes to God. If he chooses to use some kind of glass or crystal, then that's what it is. I mean, Jesus himself used mud when he healed that guy of his vision, right? I mean, he spit on the mud and used mud.
In the Bible, didn't God cause a donkey to talk?
He sure did. He sure did. And he may be using a lot of donkeys. Never mind. Let me not go there. In fact, let me stop and take a break right now. And then when we come back, we're just going to talk about maybe what else is in your future and what this dating game thing is all about. I just find that so interesting. All right? Folks, don't go away. We're going to be right back with more of Robert Shepard here on Faith on Film.
80% of Americans want more family-friendly content. 80%. So what's the solution? 24 Flicks on Demand. That's right. 24 Flicks provides unlimited, safe, family-friendly content without profanity, nudity, sexual content, and substance abuse. You can enjoy movies, TV series, comedy, sports, and so much more. Simply go to 24flicks.com. 24 Flicks. It's your home for unlimited, family-friendly, on-demand videos.
Dad? This is a lot of work. It might take us the entire weekend.
You think this is rough? Try building one of the most massive wooden ships in history without modern tools.
Go ahead. Think bigger.
YBL is an experience like none other. Whether you are thinking about a call into leadership in ministry or something else.
I would do it again in a heartbeat. I learned a lot about having self-confidence in myself as a leader. Even though we're teenagers, we still have the power and the capacity to change the world.
God can do amazing things in a very short amount of time. The material that we studied, the activities that we did, really helped us to see that.
Going to YBL and hearing from professors that are my future professors and professors now, coming to Asbury is really like a continuation of what Youth Becoming Leaders was.
It was really important having a group of people my age who wanted to do what I wanted to do. We kind of end up as a family, which is the best thing I think about YBL.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. We are here today, by the way, coming to you from Texas, from the Lake Conroe area. I finally made the move and I am loving it here. So anyway, but we are here with Robert Shepard today. And I just simply have to ask you, Robert, I've got to ask you, it said here you were not only a contestant, but you were a winning contestant. What does that mean? Does that mean that you're the one that went on the date?
Yes, I was the one that got selected. So
wow.
This all happened, actually, Isaac, this was back in 1970. So it's a long time ago.
Yes,
but I was teaching school, but still was so caught up, and I wanted to figure out how to get into acting, get into show business. So I spent the summer with an aunt that lived in San Fernando, California, out in the valley, and I spent the summer with her trying to kind of get my feet wet and figure out, how I could go forward. And so I knew about the dating game. Actually, I had never seen the show because back in the Ozarks, we didn't get ABC. We only got NBC, but I'd read about it, so I knew about it. So I called up the production company, and they said, oh, yeah, we're having an open call Friday night. So I and about 200 people show up, and they run us through about 6 at a time, and they ask you these really crazy questions and see what your answers are. And when it's all done, don't call us, we'll call you. Well, lo and behold, they call me and said, we'd like you to do a callback. So then I come back about a week later, and they run us through again, but we're like a smaller group at a time. And again, don't call us, we'll call you. But lo and behold, they booked me for the show. So we came in, and I did the show. I actually had to leave the next day to get back home because my contract as a teacher started. So, but I stayed over and did the show, and there were 3 of us. And, they do ask you, probably for their day, maybe they were a little risque. I don't know. The question I remember they asked me is that Jill was her name, actually, the young lady. She said, what do you spray all over yourself to get rid of the ugly girls? And I said, without missing a beat, well, actually, my dear, I've never met an ugly girl. They're all beautiful in their own way.
Oh, that was it.
And the audience applauded, they thought it was great. So when I win the date, I turned to Jill and say, Jill, why did you pick me? Thinking she'd say, oh, Bob, your answers were so clever. She said, I was so nervous, I couldn't remember what anybody said. I liked the sound of your voice.
Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, I got to admit, I used to watch that show all the time. I mean, I still remember the intro music. Okay, well, that's enough of that. But, I may have seen you. I just may have seen you, and I don't know for sure. I may have to go back on YouTube and try to find these episodes.
We have tried. Our family
you can't find
has
it?
We just can't. We can't find it. And I don't know. Chuck Barris Productions, they don't seem to be terribly supportive in that kind of thing.
Well, I have to admit, that's a first for me to have a guest that was on the dating game. I think that is the neatest thing. So, Robert, now, first of all, how can they find out more about the movie that you've done, Past Shadows, so they can make sure and know how to find it, how to go see it? What's the best way?
Right now, probably the best way is on Facebook. We have a Past Shadows feature film page, and we will update that and let people know. And then we are constantly putting out updates on social media, on Facebook as well. And so right now, that's the best way. Once Bridgestone gets up and running, there'll be other opportunities, I'm sure, as well.
Right, but if they go to that one, then they'll know where to go for that. What about you personally? What if somebody wants to keep up with what you're doing, maybe even write you a little note?
Hey, that would be great. Well, I'm on, actually, again, Facebook again, and it's Robert Shepard. And you can, I don't know if it shows up in the corner of the screen. I can see it, but my name is like a sheepherder, S-H-E-P-H-E-R-D. No one likes to spell it that way, but that would get to me if you did it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure it'll appear down at the bottom of the screen there, and it'll have the correct spelling and everything. Well, we've got just a minute left. What might be in the future for Robert Shepard? Anything you've got planned already?
Well, it may be the biggest role that I have ever played. I am scheduled to fly to Oregon and do it. We hope it will be a pilot for a series, but right now it's a short film called Lucifer and the Father, and I'm scheduled to play God.
Oh. Now there's a role for you. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're not playing Lucifer.
I may need some coaching. Can I give you a call?
Yeah, exactly, because I know all about how God works. Well, Robert, thank you so much. It was so much fun having you on the show, and I'm glad. Actually, I've been wanting to have you for a while, but for some reason, it just, everybody kept wanting to be in the show, and so I kept booking people, and your name just kept popping down. But then you have an agent or somebody who contacted me and said, you got to have Robert on. So I'm glad I just finally was able to work it out.
Well, that was my great friend, Kristen Collier, that I call my publicist and helping me with Past Shadows. But we are actually in development of a children's series called Benny the Barnacle, and that's going to be with Kristen and her husband Kevin. And I will be involved, good Lord willing, with that project as well.
Fantastic. Well, once again, thank you so very much, all right?
It is truly my pleasure, and maybe I'll have the good fortune of meeting you in person, Isaac.
I look forward to it. I look forward to it. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Love the classic movies? Well, 24 Flicks has you covered. You can watch some of your favorite movies and TV shows you've known and loved. Watch anytime and anywhere and as many times as you want. Simply go to 24flix.com and start watching now. 24 Flicks is your home for unlimited, family-friendly, on-demand videos.
Meet Will. Will wants to make a movie based in Bible times. No, maybe a Western. Well, maybe an apocalyptic movie. A biblical era apocalyptic Western? That would be so original. But Will needs some sweet sets to bring it to life, and Will is 25,352 miles away from any of those sweet, sweet sets. Or so he thinks. Fortunately for Will, there is a solution. Introducing Capernaum Studios, your ticket to realistic locations and everything else you need to bring your period-accurate story to life. Book a tour today, like Will, who is, yet to leave.
You know they say it's really big.
What's really big?
Noah's Ark, silly.
Oh, I know. It's bigger than the size of our house.
It's a little bigger than that.
Like the size of 2 houses. No, 2 houses and a spaceship. I bet it's even bigger than the castle.
Don't be ridiculous. That's impossible.
This summer, think bigger.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. I'm going to ask you for a favor. Whatever television station or network or streaming platform you're watching this program on, just write them and thank them for carrying this program. I sure would appreciate it. But also, if you're watching this show on the YouTube channel, Faith on Film TV, hit that little subscribe button down there in the bottom. That way you'll be aware of every time I put out a new show, and who knows, maybe I'll start putting out some other content through there. So just go down there and hit that little subscribe button, all right? And of course, don't forget to write me at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. I sure would love to hear from you. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Until next week, take care.